Alright guys, so I finally watched Smurfs The Lost Village. I actually was kind of curious to check this out because this is fully animated, whereas the last two movies were live action, and we saw how those were. But this movie was directed by the same director of Shrek 2, Kelly Osbourne, so it had a very good chance of at least being decent. So the plot for this movie, we have the Smurfs, obviously, and then we have Smurfette, who's still kind of questioning why she's the only girl Smurf in her village. But then one day she finds this creature, and she gets rather curious, so she goes on a adventure with Brainy, Hefty, and Clumsy Smurf, till they find this forbidden forest, of course leading them to the lost village of other Smurfs, this time all female Smurfs. So before we start with anything, I'm just gonna say that I actually I have a guilty pleasure for the live action Smurfs movies. Of course, I own the first one on Blu-ray, and I also own the second one on Blu-ray 3D. And they're bad movies, sure, but I just kind of somehow just kind of enjoy them sometimes. Um, and I know they're not the best movies ever, and they're definitely not nowhere as perfect as they could have been. But I'm just glad we got a fully animated version of this movie because it's what we really needed. So first, let's start off with what I liked about this movie. I thought the voice acting was actually good, but for Demi Lovato, I think this is her first voice acting job that she ever did. I think she needed a bit more improvement as Smurfette. I don't think she did like great, but she was okay. So I think Demi Lovato was a okay Smurfette. I still kind of like Katy Perry better, to be honest, from the live action movies. But then we have Mandy Patinkin as Papa Smurf, who I thought actually kind of did really well as Papa Smurf. He sounded like Papa Smurf, and even though Papa Smurf was barely in the movie, I thought he did a good job. I think that the show stealers here, as when it comes to the voice acting in this movie, is the voice actor for Hefty Smurf, who I just thought did a really good job. I think his name's Danny Putty, the guy who voiced Brainy Smurf. He also does really good. He has that like nerdy voice to him, but the absolute like not only like scene stealer, but like the best voice actor in this movie was Jack McBrayer as Clumsy Smurf. He just has that like clumsy voice to him sometimes, and he feels like Clumsy Smurf. So big props to those three actors, and they just absolutely nailed it as the Smurfs. Rainn Wilson as Gargamel, I thought he did a good job. In my opinion, I prefer Hank Azaria, even though he was over the top. Hank Azaria in the live-action Smurfs movies, he felt a little bit more like Gargamel. But Rainn Wilson, I think he did a good job. But they just got a really good cast, and a really surprising cast for the female Smurf, the Lost Village Smurfs. They got Julia Roberts, who is basically the Papa Smurf of the Lost Village, and she did really good job. I think she's probably the best performance in this movie. Michelle Rodriguez, who plays this kind of like badass Smurf, and I thought that she also did a good job. But I think that Ariel Winter as one of the Smurfs, I think she played the annoying Smurf in this movie. I think her name was Smurf Blossom or something like that. But she did a good job, but just that her character was way too annoying, and I just couldn't handle her. So yeah, we had a really good voice cast for this movie, like a really well-known cast. I also forgot to mention Jake Johnson. I think he was Grumpy Smurf, but he was barely in this movie, only like 2 minutes. But everyone did fine, especially Julia Roberts, who's again probably the best actress or actor in this movie. So definitely there's that. Also, the animation is really smooth. Coming from Sony Animation, I think that the animation that they usually do is really smooth, and it's just really satisfying to watch. I really like how they stay true to the actual Smurfs cartoon. Now, I did manage to watch some of the Smurfs cartoon episodes when I was younger, and I do remember them well. And I was one of my bigger problems with the live action ones is how not all the Smurfs were captured right. Brainy Smurf in the live action movies, he felt like a complete asshole, such a dick, and he just tried too hard to be funny. And here in this movie, he could be funny sometimes, but he's not much of an asshole as he was in the live action movies. He was actually Brainy Smurf. He was actually heartfelt, and that's one thing that they really missed from the live action movies, where he felt like an asshole. And then Clumsy Smurf, where he felt like a screw up in the live action movies, but he was really heartfelt in the live action movies. He's not just heartfelt, but he's not really much of a screw up as he was in the live action movies, and neither was he in the cartoons. So yeah, they captured the Smurfs. Even if it was just a few Smurfs that they tried to improve, they definitely captured them right. Definitely the best thing to come out of this movie, and this definitely has a huge impact on my score for this movie, is definitely the creativity for this movie. They just had, it looked like they had so much fun building a world that we never really seen. Like, the visuals are just so beautiful in this movie, and they're very colorful. It's just so creative, whether it's like the designs for the female Smurfs, or the design for the Lost Village and the Forbidden Forest and the creatures around it. It's just so beautiful to look at. Now into the things that I personally did not like about this movie and did not work for me. The first act was really slow, and just when they were in the Smurfs village, it just didn't work as much for me. And it just kind of like, it wasn't boring, but it just didn't really have me entertained. But then towards the second act, where they actually start going on this adventure to find this on the Forbidden Forest to find this lost village, is where I really started to have more fun. But that first act just did not work for me. And Gargamel was way too much of a animated villain. He just was way too cartoony. And I mean, I know Hank Azaria was over the top, but here he was just a bit too cartoony. But then the uses of many pop songs, which just gets out of hand sometimes, and it just gets annoying sometimes. Now, my biggest problem with this movie, and this bothered me so much, is how there's only one type of audience for this movie, and that's the kids. Now, this movie is just geared to kids, and it's more of a kids movie than it is of a family movie. The definition of a family movie is basically a movie that both kids and adults can enjoy. Prime examples of a family movie is both Lego movies. The Lego movie and the Lego Batman movie, they're both movies that adults and kids can enjoy. And sure, they're animated, but adults really dug the hell out of the Lego movie and Lego Batman movie. So, definitely this movie is not a family, it doesn't feel like a family movie. It's more of a kids movie because it just kind of felt immature sometimes. It had some jokes that only kids will laugh at, and it felt like adults would rather be bored with this movie than with kids. But you just gotta have an audience for the parents too, because remember, the parents are taking the kids, and you need to keep the parents awake or entertained in some type of way. So Sony, if you're thinking of making a sequel, please make it for the family, not just the kids. As a movie, this movie is actually kind of better than the live action movies, but I still kind of prefer the first live action movie. But anyways, overall, this movie does have problems, and if you haven't seen this in theaters, then don't stress about it, don't worry about it, you're not missing out on anything. You could just wait 3 months till the movie's out on Blu-ray and DVD, and you could rent it at Redbox. So this will make a good rental, definitely. But I'd say that this movie is definitely a matinee / discount day worthy, and that's why I'm gonna give Smurfs The Lost Village a B. So anyways, if you guys seen this movie, definitely tell me what you guys thought about it. Tell me if you thought it was better than the live action movies. Definitely let me know. But anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.